All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick's on the Power. So welcome to another news update video. I've got a bunch of interesting stories for you guys today. And the first story is actually going to be a men's physique / classic physique story. This one's going to be about Logan Franklin, who is a top men's physique competitor. And he's been kind of hinting on his Instagram for a while that he was going to be making the switch to classic physique. And then yesterday he posted this post on Instagram with the hashtag classic debut. Now, this past weekend at the 2019 Arnold Classic, Logan Franklin took 4th place at the Arnold. And I actually ran into him very briefly backstage at the Arnold where he shook my hand, but we didn't really get the opportunity to talk. So when I saw him post this Instagram post that he was switching over to Classic, I sent him a message and I asked him about when he's planning on making his debut, where he's planning on making his debut, and his reasoning for wanting to switch over to Classic. So he did tell me where he's going to be making his Classic debut, but he didn't want me to put that out there. He wants it to kind of be a surprise for people. But I can say it will be relatively soon. And when I asked him what his main reasoning was for wanting to switch over, he said really, I guess he kind of got bored of the posing in men's physique, just kind of standing there from the front, turning around, standing there from the back. He wanted to pose. He wanted to hit poses. And I feel like Classic Physique is actually a pretty good division for him. Obviously, it's pretty hard for a men's physique guy to cross over to men's open bodybuilding. But I feel like Classic Physique is the perfect step up from men's physique. Because a lot of these guys get into men's physique because they have a really small waist, because that's one of the things that they're looking for in men's physique. Is kind of that beach body look that is associated with having a very small waist. But some of the men's physique guys have a small waist, but not really the upper body mass to switch over to Classic Physique. Now, Logan Franklin is a guy that definitely has the upper body mass to be able to switch over to Classic. And another thing with men's physique where they can't switch over to Classic would be the lower body, because obviously in board shorts, you can't see their lower body. But Logan Franklin has posted several posts where you can see his legs, and he actually has pretty decent legs. So I actually think that Classic Physique would be a pretty good fit for Logan Franklin. And I think overall, it's just kind of exciting when anybody that's kind of towards the top end of their division decides to cross over to a new division, and everyone's kind of excited to see if they're going to do better or worse in that new division. It's just the mystery that makes people want to watch. And I think in addition to his small waist, Logan Franklin actually has very good lines as well. So I think he's going to do very well in Classic, and I'm excited to see his debut. And I wish him the best in making that Classic Physique debut whenever that may be. Now, the next story that I have for you guys today is actually NFL related, so a ton of people have been asking me to talk about this topic, and that is the former Ole Miss wide receiver DK Metcalf, who recently had a very impressive showing at the NFL Combine. Now, he's been going viral lately because during the NFL Combine, it was reported that DK Metcalf's body fat percentage was measured at 1.6% body fat. Standing 6'3" and 3/8 inches tall at 228 pounds, 1.6 body fat, as reported by Ian Rappaport. Now, DK Metcalf actually went on record after this report came out and said he was actually 1.9% and not 1.6%, but still sub 2% body fat, which is extremely, extremely low. In fact, it's low to the point where that would be putting you at risk for a medical emergency. And in most cases, even for elite athletes, they want to be at least 5% body fat. They don't want to be insanely low to the point where they would be depleted and have no energy. And most people are saying it would be impossible for him to perform the way that he did at the Combine with a body fat percentage that low. Now, according to most studies, for a male athlete, they want to have at least 3% body fat for their essential organs to be functioning. Anything below that would start to interfere with the functions of essential organs. So most people are saying these numbers of 1.6 and 1.9 are simply inaccurate. Now, the reason why I thought this would be an interesting topic to touch on in a video is because some of the articles that I was reading on ESPN and other sports websites, they actually referenced the bodybuilder Andreas Munzer, who died after the Arnold Classic in 1996. And during his autopsy, it was found that he had literally nearly 0% body fat, probably one of the lowest measured body fat percentages performed in an autopsy. Now, the reason why I bring up Andreas Munzer is because if you compare how Andreas Munzer looked with that low level of body fat compared to how DK Metcalf looks, it's two completely different stories. Now, DK Metcalf is obviously ripped. I mean, he's obviously in tremendous shape. He's an athlete, very, very muscular guy. But when you look at a guy like Andreas Munzer, who is truly in that sub 2% body fat range, the level of detail that you can see in the muscle is a completely just night and day difference between him and DK Metcalf. Now, just looking at him, I would estimate that he's probably somewhere around 5%. I don't know exactly how they got this number of 1.6 or 1.9, whichever it is, if they performed the skin caliper test or if they did the electro one. But in any case, I don't see any way that that could possibly be accurate. However, on the off chance that that number is accurate, it would make him probably one of the most genetically gifted athletes of all time to be able to perform the way that he did at that combine with that low level of body fat. He would be really a genetic freak. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think DK Metcalf's body fat was really sub 2%? And if not, where would you clock it at? More or less than 5%? Now, the next story that I have for you guys today is about Sadik Hadzovic. So Sadik is an interesting guy. I mean, he started out in men's physique. He was at the top of the game in men's physique when he was over there. Then he switched over to classic physique and was briefly, for a period of time, kind of at the top of the classic physique division. And then after several classic competitions where he didn't really place that well, he made the jump back over to men's physique for the 2019 Arnold Classic. Now, I don't really follow men's physique that closely. You guys know that, and I think a lot of you guys don't really follow it as well. But Sadik has a tremendous fan base. Even several of my friends are fans of Sadik and not necessarily fans of the men's physique division, so they were closely following how he was placing at the Arnold Classic. And Sadik ended up taking 6th here. So while he still managed to secure a top 6 position, this was probably not the placing he was hoping for. He was probably hoping to be somewhere in that top 3 and back in the conversation as a top men's physique guy. Now, don't get me wrong, switching over from classic back to men's physique for his first show ever being the Arnold Classic, taking a top 6 spot in a very deep lineup, by the way, 32 competitors here, is not bad at all. But for Sadik Hadzovic, I'm sure he wasn't happy with that placing. So I'm kind of curious to see what Sadik's next move is going to be, if he's going to continue trying to compete in men's physique, or maybe he's going to go back and forth between men's and classic and just see where he does better over the next couple of years. But in either case, I think he has a pretty good physique, and I really do wish the best for him, and just excited to see where he's able to go with this. Now, next up, I wanted to discuss Cedric McMillan's posing routine at the 2019 Arnold Classic. I'm really curious to get your guys' opinion on this because it was very different. It was certainly very unique and something I don't think I've ever seen before in bodybuilding. So Cedric, always known for being a very entertaining poser and actually being a fantastic poser. But this year at the Arnold, Cedric decided to do something very, very different, and that was to blindfold himself during the posing routine. So this was kind of interesting for a number of reasons. Number one, as a lot of people pointed out, it wouldn't really make the posing more difficult because you don't have a mirror there anyway. You're not looking at yourself pose while you're posing. And oftentimes you do see bodybuilders close their eyes during their posing routine. So I think the main question that people had was really, why did he do this? Was it supposed to make the routine harder? Was it supposed to make it easier? Was he just trying to block out distractions? Or was he simply trying to generate discussion and do something unique? Because other than blocking out the distractions of the bright lights in the crowd in front of him and maybe eliminating some nerves, I can't really find a reason why you would want to blindfold yourself for your posing routine. I can't really see the benefit of it unless really it was, just to block out those lights. But in any case, it did make for an entertaining posing routine, and maybe we should change his nickname from Cedric Aesthetic McMillan to Cedric the Entertainer. Now, the final topic that I wanted to touch on, and I might make a whole video about this in and of itself because I think it's a fascinating topic, and that question is, how important is the vacuum pose really in the classic physique division? Now, I'm sure you guys saw this clip that I put up a couple days ago of Arnold asking the winner of the classic physique Arnold Classic, George Peterson, to hit a vacuum pose. Now, the comment section was kind of split. A lot of people couldn't tell if Arnold was serious and didn't really realize that George could not hit a vacuum pose. But at the same time, a lot of them thought that Arnold might be trolling George Peterson, knowing that he couldn't hit a vacuum pose and wanting to point that out. So I'm kind of leaning towards Arnold was trolling him because Arnold did the same thing to Kai Green back in 2016, I believe. And Arnold had to know that Kai Green can't hit a vacuum pose. But George Peterson did still win the show. So that raises the question, does the vacuum pose even matter in classic physique? And the reason I wanted to make a video about this was because I saw on Instagram recently where Breon Ainsley was kind of hitting a vacuum pose, and someone commented that it looks like he's working on the vacuum pose for the Olympia because Breon is a guy that doesn't really hit the vacuum pose at the Olympia. So this guy commented that, and Breon responded that he's not really too worried about hitting a vacuum pose at the Olympia. So you have the Olympia winner, the most recent, 2018, Breon Ainsley, doesn't hit a vacuum pose. And the most recent Arnold Classic champion doesn't hit a vacuum pose. So I guess my question to you guys is, does the vacuum pose matter to you in Classic Physique? I know it's not a mandatory pose, but when you create a division based on the golden era of bodybuilding, classic bodybuilders, the main pose that I think of when I think of the golden era is the vacuum pose. And even though it's not a mandatory pose, I like to see when these guys hit the vacuum. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys think, even though it's not a mandatory pose, that a Classic Physique guy should be able to at least hit a vacuum pose? Even if they don't hit it, they should be able to do one. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Make sure you guys subscribe if you have not subscribed already. And thank you guys for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.